calling into question like how in the orbit of Charlie Kirk Erika actually was. This type unironically makes someone even like myself who is anti-conspiracy theory look at this a little differently. It is a little too serendipitous. Exactly. It is a little crazy. Like how 84,000 in the waiting room. Oh my God. Everyone else is so washed, including myself. Okay. Everyone else is washed, including your boy. We ain't got nothing. No motion whatsoever. Yeah, Megan tried to shank Erika just in time for this. Even though she is supposed to be speaking at TPUSA's America Fest this week. I think the TPUSA event is going to fall apart. 100,000 people waiting. 100,000 people waiting in the waiting room. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is going to hit more than 500K. This is going to hit more than 500. And before people say, oh, you're a view count Andy or whatever, dog. This is the real mover and shaker in the world of politics right now. It does you no service to deny the legitimate, real human interest in whatever is going on with this endless back and forth and endless drama between Candace and Erika Kirk. And it's happening. Oh my God, it's happening. This is Wine Mom Super Bowl. This is my Super Bowl. Call me Wine Mom the way this is my Super Bowl too.
Okay, everybody, Shabbat Shalom. I just want to say Shabbat Shalom to everybody back at home. Happy Hanukkah to our greatest friends and allies. And this is a good time to mention that Israel does have a right to defend itself. Tucker Carlson is Adolf Hitler. And TikTok does need to be purchased by the Mossad. It's just how I'm feeling today. I am not different. Maybe you are different. Welcome back to Candace.
Oh my.
Okay, you guys are crazy. You guys are absolutely crazy. The amount of people who attacked me for sending out a tweet being like, hey, I'm good, I'm alive. We had a very productive conversation. And they were like, she got the call. She got the call. She's betrayed us.
Fucking joking.
She's doing something
I'm
else.
just shocked at how aggressively she is joking.
Okay? What do you think happened? Erika said,
the joke
stop,
is that, like,
and then I was frozen.
The Jews. The joke is
for 4 hours and 30 minutes, just like, as they just put all of these talking points into my head. That is not what happened. I keep telling you guys, I am not governable.
This is
I am basically akin to Kanye West. I never felt more seen than when he tweeted a lot of years ago, just fired my manager because I realized I can't be managed. That is me. That tweet right there, I was like, oh gosh, yes, Kanye, that I get this. Okay. Nobody is changing their mind, anything. How ridiculous would it have been if I'm doing all of this, investigating, asking all of these questions, and then Erika Kirk offers to answer some of these questions, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to go. I can't betray the people. I don't want any answers to the questions. I just want to ask them. No, this is the entire reason we are doing this. We've been looking at the situation going, why can't Turning Point USA just answer basic questions? And I can tell you guys that yesterday, for 4 hours and 30 minutes. There
good deal of time defending why she took this private meeting and not on camera. A good question would be, why wouldn't you do that on camera, Candace?
And some of you guys are thinking, who is they? Who is they? It's the Jews, obviously. Just kidding. It's Justin Strife. Justin Strife was in the room. It was just Justin Strife and Erika. George joined me just for the beginning portion of the conversation because he had that thing going on that I told you on the 15th all day. He was in a conference. And then I brought my cousin Mia, the one that has a really bad attitude. I just bring her there for vibes. I think it just confuses people. They're like, I don't understand what's this person doing here. And the reality is she's like always just listening to Cardi B music. But she's my cousin and I always have her around. And so that was it. She was kind of sitting a little bit away, but at the table, it was really just the four of us until George left. And I will be honest, I did not know what to expect going into the room. I did not know if they were going to be open. I didn't know what Erika's energy was going to be like, if it was going to be more of an argument, if there was going to be legal threats. You guys were telling me not to drink water, so I didn't drink water. Well, I brought my own water, but I didn't drink that water too. It was a lot. There's a lot going on, okay? And the conversation started with Justin Strife very sensibly saying, what are we looking to accomplish here? Like, what is the actual aim of this conversation? And he was pretty clear, and Erika was very clear, that they were sort of most upset with what obviously a bit of a fever pitch, what I tweeted, that it was a godforsaken company and people should not give money to it. And I have to own that. That's aggressive. That is actually aggressive in the retrospect. I was very frustrated. And I don't know, I felt like we weren't getting any answers and there were so many lies. And then I was getting attacked for asking all meaningful questions that was within their capacity to answer. And I told you, I definitely, my problem in life is that I can rise to anger very quickly. She compromised.
And her audience is not going to like it. She's caving.
I really
Will
felt
she be able to save
like
this walk
for telling
back?
The truth from the very beginning, like casually, when I mentioned the Catholicism thing, like what was that about? I was like, look, I say something in a tribute to him. Alex Clark and Andrew Colvett then jump onto a podcast and they're doing that weird interview, which is clearly aimed at me. And they've teased the interview as like aimed at me, but they never say my name. And that to me felt like it was the first, I don't know, the first bit of mud that was slung, which their answer for that was, hey, that was a really crazy time.
Bro, I'm telling you, they're going to think
put into place. And
there is a little bit of sincerity in their commentary here when they say it's all about the money. It's true. Erika Kirk only cares about the funding for Turning Point USA, and Candace Owens only cares about the drama. So I can totally see them coming to a reasonable conclusion here where she's like, you can keep daggering us all day, just don't disrupt the money.
That one of the first things that Erika did was she owned the lies, or rather, I guess they would cage it as miscommunications that were coming from various people at the company. Like, look, this is a company with 650 people that are employed. Everybody at this time is exceedingly emotional and they are communicating. And no matter what somebody says on Twitter, they assume that this communication has come down from management, and that's not always a circumstance. But they owned right away, which felt great, that if you guys recall, Erika sat down with Glenn Beck. I actually missed this portion because I didn't get to watch the interview in its entirety, and we were pulling clips because a lot was coming out very quickly. But there was a portion that was going around that was viral, and it was Erika saying that she had Charlie's phone. And
Chat's saying she's compromised. I'm saying she's compromised. She's compromised. She's compromised. She's compromised.
Saying that he thought that they were going to kill him, and that obviously reflected poorly on me because I was the one who said that he did, in fact, text multiple people the night before. And then I went on Jimmy Dore on Friday, Jimmy Dore's show, and I clarified. I said, Andrew Colvett told me specifically that he was one of the people that received this text message. So I got that first person.
Why
I
didn't you
get
do
that from a source. I got that directly from Andrew Colvett.
Why didn't you do it
then somebody who had access to Dan Flood's communications said that Dan Flood similarly received a text message. They owned that right away and explained. Erika said that she has Charlie's phone. She's looking at his iMessages. And it turns out that he, like everybody else, communicates on Signal. He communicates on Telegram. And that those when she heard me say that, they then went and looked. And yes, that what I said was true. Andrew Colvett received a message the night before, and Dan Flood received a message the night before. Now, they asked me if I had actually like a concrete a copy of what Dan Flood got the night before, and I said no. Somebody told me what it said.
Dope. I know you won't fold.
Almost exactly what Andrew said, which is they're going to kill me. Andrew did not know who they were, that he was referring to were, but they clarified that the message that Dan Flood received said the left is going to kill me. So I can't confirm that one way or the other. I have to trust them on that because I did not see that concrete message. I was told that it said they. Now, obviously, we discussed the moment, and I'm laughing here because you TikTokers are actually out of control. You guys are going to be the reason that Israel gets TikTok because you guys are acting a fool all the time. And the videos were so hilarious of you guys mocking the Barry Weiss interview. It's great. It's good to laugh at ourselves. And Barry Weiss is always worth laughing at.
No.
But I was sort of like, hey, I felt name checked by the podcaster, Candace Owens, this obvious setup, and then asking me to stop. And it's interesting to hear Erika say that the reason she didn't ask me to stop in the beginning because she was actually learning things from the show. She was actually learning things. And
oh, God. Okay. This is,
I
I'm
think
telling
she similarly
you.
felt that Barry Weiss was trying to create a moment. Obviously, it's who Barry Weiss is. It's the Zionist lobby.
Oh, come on.
She's
Come on.
trying
She
to right
cooked you.
perceived wrongs
She cooked
because
you.
I'm
You're
against her
selling
side.
out.
That does not surprise me. That's kind of
What's
why
up
Barry
next?
Weiss exists.
Barry
It's
Weiss
the reason
Town
we
Hall
put her
with
at
Candace
CBS
Owens.
is
Come
because
on
she's just
now.
committed to stacking the audience with people that are going to present the pro-Israel cause and talk about anti-Semitism and talk about like crime being on the rise. It's kind of an embarrassment, but I actually do accept that. And I should also clarify that Barry Weiss obviously picked those questions. They were not random, like I told you. It wasn't like people were coming to the mic and it was an open mic and they didn't know what they were going to get. It was all very much planned by Barry. But Erika said that she knew the general idea.
Wait, how do you do a
like,
donation? I'm going to do a donation.
And mention the conspiracies, but she was not given that specific, the podcaster, Candace Owens, question. So I think that's fair to clear that up. Now, I did not at all recant any of my suspicions, and I understand people disagree with me about particular people at Turning Point USA.
Why wasn't the interview?
I communicated what I communicated in front of the whole world.
On camera.
My skin crawled after I spoke to Terrell Farnsworth,
For
the person who took the cameras down.
safety
He lied to me several
and
times. I
for
explained
our
to them, which felt good to have that direct communication, how Terrell lied multiple times.
Of truth.
And that I did not understand why he was there that day. They echoed what he said. They defended what he said, that they were trying something new that day, that they typically live stream, which is what Terrell said. They typically live stream. And I said, every college event. Well, they said, well, yeah, they live stream the events that are tour stops, but they don't live stream like the outside prove me wrong type events. And that was something that was new and it required Terrell. And I said, even if that was all real, if that was all true, I still didn't feel good about the conversation that I had with Terrell. And I can't ignore my gut about the many little lies that he told. I thought the video he recorded was weird. I know he comes from a very powerful family. I personally do not trust him. And
Answer him, Candace.
Obviously do not like the fact that I said, Tyler Boyer lied about this thing and came up with an excuse and said, well, Terrell was asked to take the camera down. That's the reason, he said on Twitter, because the police wanted him to take it down and secure the footage. And I said, I know that's not true. And they said, well, after all of that, after he took the cameras down, there was a police officer or Fed, whoever it was, that spoke to him and asked him to secure the footage. Well, that makes sense.
Stop giving her money. Erika just paid her millions.
For why he took it down immediately. It makes sense that as you're investigating, you're going to say, who's got the footage? Let's lock it down. But it didn't make sense to me that Tyler Boyer lied about it. And I don't trust Tyler Boyer. And that is never going to change. Similarly with Rob McCoy. He makes my skin crawl. I can't explain it. I look at him and he's a bad person and nobody can make me feel one way or the other about that.
How did you not film it at all?
I was surprised
with your
to learn.
camera?
And this kind of gets into, I guess, us not knowing the inner workings at Turning Point USA, that Rob McCoy actually does not work with Turning Point USA in any capacity whatsoever. And so him communicating as he has done, like, I'm the pastor, I'm this, I'm that, it's just not real. Like, that is not real. And we should know that that's not real. And when he says that, call him out on that separately from Turning Point USA. I was operating under the assumption that he worked for Turning Point USA. And I said, if obviously that's wrong, I'm happy to correct that. But also, what were we to assume when he hit the stage at the memorial and said, I'm America's pastor, and then had the Wikipedia updated and said, well, I'm assuming he had it updated because who else would do that? That he started Turning Point USA Faith. So I guess, to be clear, we were just wrong about that. And I will have a lot more to say about Rob McCoy and where I believe he fits into a lot of things. So I'm not letting up on that. Now, one piece of this where I still don't understand it, and the magic bullet. Okay. Now, we all recall what happened. I casually say on the show, hey, I saw the footage. There was no blood. And honestly, when I said it, I didn't process how big of a deal that was with the 30-06. Very quickly, what happens is Andrew Colvett whips up this tweet about what happened with the bullet, and he said he wanted to address all of the discussion that was being had about the online chatter. I'm obviously
I'm
paraphrasing
shocked that it's
here.
only staying at 265.
He says, I apologize.
I
It's going
thought
to
it would
get
have gone up to
graphic, but
500K.
He spoke with the surgeon. The bullet should have gone through. The surgeon then explained that what he's typically seen on these wounds, and basically this was all a miracle. Charlie saved lives, even in death. And the internet clocked it, this miracle, the healthy bone. His bone was so healthy and the density was so impressive. Like, this is a quote, by the way. His bone was so healthy. I want to read it. This is allegedly from a surgeon. Quote, his bone was so healthy and the density was so impressive that he's like the man of steel. It should have gone through and through. It likely would have killed those standing behind him too. And we were just like, eeh. That kind of was like the beginning of the WTF, right? I feel like that was kind of the beginning of it. And immediately people in the comments responded to Andrew, and he said,
yeah, I covered this months ago. It was silly.
This individual said, this post is so fake as it would violate HIPAA. Like, there's patient privacy. You can't just
That's
call
your
up the
favorite
surgeon.
guy.
And then Andrew
He's
Collette replies and
anti-honest.
says, rest assured, I would not have posted without full permission. Now, he said he spoke to the surgeon, and they confirmed that Andrew spoke to the surgeon, but that they did not know that he was going to write that tweet. They did not know that he called up the surgeon. So, like, it very much came across to be like Andrew was just flying by the seat of his pants. I don't know. Like, he was just flying dark on me. And I was like, that seems very strange to me, because why would a surgeon do that? Like, the first thing the surgeon should say is, I can't speak to you.
Where the fuck's my top
I don't even
chat,
know.
bro?
In theory, Andrew wasn't even there when Charlie died. I don't even know why the surgeon even knows this guy, actually. Maybe he hung around after, but, you know, Andrew was not one of the people that got into the hospital or anything like that. So this is quite literally the PR guy who's calling the surgeon. And so that just seems
530 likes.
that just seems very inappropriate for a person to do, period. And I would say it was kind of the beginning, but that was what I got from that. Now,
why can't I click on
the security? I brought up Brian Harpole, this interview with Sean Ryan, and I think we can
You dropped a weak-ass 10? Shut
turning
up.
point when they say that they did not approve of this. They had no idea he was going on Sean Ryan. I think that's pretty clear. I don't believe he works there anymore. So
God,
that
the
was
user
kind of
interface
him.
is so ass
Just
on YouTube.
getting out
What
there
the fuck?
and perhaps trying to rescue his own reputation.
basically
And
a
I think
chatter. I'm
that
like,
only
I'm
made
trying
his
to see
reputation
myself on
worse,
there.
actually, because people rightfully sensed that he wasn't telling the truth in that interview, that he was being cagey, that he was saying things that didn't make any sense. Again, you constantly have these people that believe, like Brian Harpole, that with enough performance he can sit down and you're just going to convince people
A
that this
private meeting
real.
is fake and
And
gay.
this
You were
is
the
just a
only person I
different
trusted in
time.
media.
Like I
Now
said,
that
these
it's
TikTokers
changed.
are out
Not sure who
of
to believe
control. They will
anymore.
check
Let's
you
go!
in 4 seconds. Okay. Things that the biggest piece of this that I want to communicate, and that I did communicate to them, and I hope that they took me seriously on this, or rather that they take my strong advice on this. I said one of the reasons why I really want to sit down is because I want to walk out of here and feel confident saying to my audience, hey, like, there's stuff going on behind the scenes.
You gotta ask her to read your log.
Tyler
Streamers
Robinson
love that. Oh yeah, that's right.
shot Charlie Kirk.
Hey, Candace.
Like,
really important.
That
read my
more
logs.
will come out, but you
Read
can
my
take
logs.
it from me that this is what happened. I was looking to achieve that because there's been a lot of signaling from various people.
Check logs,
some people
Candace.
who are experts, some people who have been involved in cases that
Pecker
there's
was right.
obviously going to be stuff that the public does not have access to. And so it is at least plausible that they have seen very clear footage that we've been
this
asking
sucks
for.
because this is
of
literally
Tyler
just
Robinson
her
getting up there and taking the shot.
defending
Like,
her
they have
initial
access
conspiracies
to
without
UVU
telling
cameras. So I was
people
hoping to
any
hear
new
that,
things
and
about
I
this,
said that. I want to hear why.
anything that came out of this
so
meeting. Like,
confident
oh, I
in
just
saying
told
that
them what
Tyler
my
Robinson's
conspiracies
the
were,
guy.
and they agreed with me.
And at this
Like,
point, elected
they're not
to
going to believe that.
the lawyer.
You were
Like,
already presenting a
their
narrative that like
lawyer,
they might
who
have
is
a
involved in
hand
this case. One of the
in
lawyers that was
in
involved in this case.
literally
There's always a team of lawyers.
they might have a
especially
hand in
for-
killing
and
Charlie Kirk, and
what I
now
got from
you have
the
a
lawyer
private conversation behind closed
did not
doors
make me
with
feel
Erika
that Tyler
Kirk,
Robinson
and
shot
all of a
Charlie Kirk.
sudden
Did not make me
you
feel
told them what your
confident that
actual
that they didn't
conspiracies
or
were,
did shoot,
or what your
Charlie
actual
Kirk. I
theories
was
were,
very surprised
and
by
then
this. He
they
spoke
turned
a very
around and
long
they said,
time.
"Oh
I
yeah,
asked,
this seems
can you
great."
share with me what it is? And I said, when you share this with me, I will not say what that
HasanAbi
thing is.
answered, Candace,
That's
we
what
trusted
we want to
you.
protect the integrity of the case. I'm not gonna. If you say we've got the footage of him taking a shot, I promise I won't say that to the audience, but I will communicate to them that you have something that is solid. And no,
It doesn't make any
the exact
sense.
contrary, this guy effectively said, not effectively, he said that they have nothing but the affidavit. Okay, so what we have seen is what they have. What is being discussed publicly, you are this whole non-expert problem with well, you don't know. It's like what you read. So
essentially you're saying you trusted everything she told you and aren't going to provide her direct
don't
responses?
Have any dates on it. Tyler
Covering
Robinson,
up crime scene, hand signals from security, no aid given, et cetera, et cetera.
That's what they have. And what he explained to me was that that's the affidavit stage. That's where it's at. And then what takes place now is the investigation is ongoing, right? So right now they're looking for more information. And once investigators, they could very well have obviously footage. And that is why they might feel that, we're definitely gonna get this prosecution. But the reality is they don't actually share that information with the victim. They don't share that information with Erika. They don't, in this part of the process, they will not know what investigators have discovered. This is what the lawyer told me until May. Okay. They have not seen anything that you have not seen, is what I want you to know. So with that in mind, I'm sitting here going, why are you signaling? Why do I feel like the public's being gaslit on this? There's been nothing that's convincing. There are so many commentators who have gone out and said to you, it's overwhelming. The evidence is overwhelming. The text messages that don't have a date, that don't even sound real, that's overwhelming. That to me feels really fake and gay. I really do want to say that to every commentator that is out there trying to tell the public and insisting that if you say it enough times it'll become real, you're actually just being dishonest. And I offered that a more honest way to communicate would just be to say, we think he's involved. We feel strongly. I've said that. I think he's involved. We are very hopeful that throughout this investigation, we are going to get that concrete thing.
They said.
And that's where we're at right now. That's just the stage that we are at. That is not what we are getting from them. That is I just feel like that's really important to let you guys know. Let the gaslighting stop. They have what you have, okay? There is nothing else. They are in an investigative stage. Erika has been named as the victim. They will know more in this May hearing, which is the probable cause hearing. That's what the lawyer told me. It's a probable cause hearing. And that's when they will see the evidence. That's when they get to present the evidence, why they are going to stand there before a judge and be like, yes, we need to move this forward. It's not just an affidavit. We're not pulling together scraps. We have concrete evidence.
Hank Pecker knew the
until
truth.
Then, okay, until we all get on the same page and understand what else they have, I am very confident stating the opposite of all of my, I guess, well-paid peers in that I don't believe that Tyler Robinson pulled the trigger. And what I also said to them was, and I said this in front of the lawyer.
304,000 viewers, by the way.
I was like, you might need a new lawyer. I was like, because this person's trying to sell to you that this is solid. One of the rules that me and my husband have is that if you have a lawyer that tells you you're 100% going to win, it's very clear that you're going to win, you need a new lawyer. Okay, that's a cheerleader. That's not a lawyer. A lawyer, even if you should 100% win, should be telling you the risks here. I feel good about this case. Let me talk real to you. I feel good about this case, but here's where things could go wrong. I want you to understand those risks that are involved. We don't have this yet. We don't have that yet. And especially given what I told them, which is your lawyers, or the investigators rather, not their lawyers, because they're not the ones investigating. It's the state of Utah that's investigating. They have not called the one solitary person, as I told you guys, who filmed as he was on the roof. Remember the guy that's like, oh, there's somebody on the roof, and he sees him crouch down. I said, I spoke to that person, and his testimony would be devastating to your prosecution. He saw the person on the roof. He filmed the person on the roof at 12:23 p.m. and he did not see that person take the shot. And this is not some random student. This is a guy who trains people to shoot guns at a range. He knows guns, okay? He said what he saw was a smaller gun. He said that this person was dressed in black tactical gear and there was no recoil. That's devastating. That would be devastating to the prosecution. And yet, investigators haven't reached out. Now, they offered back, well, maybe they haven't reached out because they have an even clearer video. And that's true. That's actually a good rebuttal. They're like, we don't even have to talk to this guy because the video will speak for itself, and we saw what we saw. Okay, but wouldn't you still want to speak to the other guy so you could prepare? I don't know, to question him something. I don't like that this investigation is going on, and I feel as though I spoke to more people than they have. Both of the people who filmed videos that day told me that they weren't reached out to. So I don't understand what's happening here. I don't understand
There's
the
a cover-up.
confidence, I guess, is the best way to say this. I told him I do not understand the confidence that is happening. Now, another really big thing that happened was they brought me Mikey's call logs, okay? They brought me Mikey's call logs, and that is why I said this was a productive meeting. There is no other way to say it. I asked every question, and they came with paperwork to show and to answer and to explain certain things. Also, which was, I thought, actually kind of sweet, that I guess I did on the previous show. I was like kind of looking at things into Mikey, and I couldn't find him. And someone said, I think
the major thing that people are not getting out of this is what they said.
Actually. And I just assumed, okay, well, maybe
what Turning Point USA said. Notice how Candace is only talking about her position and what she said to them, and refusing to mention what they said back to her.
They thought
that's why people are tuning in. She's not giving them
just
that.
Clarify that.
She's not giving us that. I want to know
that. But Mikey's call logs, big piece of this. Okay, I'm going to, I guess, jog your memory on what Blake said about Mikey that day, and then I'll tell you what actually happened, because I don't think Blake has that great of a memory. Okay, take a listen.
So I was not with Mikey, or I don't remember being with him. I think I was ahead of him as we left. And then we get out, and I run for, can't have been more than 15 or 20 seconds. And then I realized there hasn't been another shot, so the shooter has likely been detained or stopped or something, not in immediate danger. I pause, I look around me, and I see Mikey. And I see Mikey there. And truthfully, I will never forget what I saw, because I've seen Mikey almost every day for the past 2 years. I know his personality very well. He's a very bubbly guy. He's a very happy guy almost all of the time. And I'll never forget what I saw, because it was clear in the moment that he was
Blake Neff is the white supremacist.
What I'll always remember is the way
Tucker Carlson, writer,
which I'd never seen
producer
before.
that was fired from Fox News when he was outed as a white supremacist, by the way.
Freaking out. And then I think he literally said to me, I might be imagining this, but I think what he literally said was, he was looking around, and then he says, I need to call Erika. And then he takes his phone and he begins calling Erika. And I don't want to disclose how that call unfolded, but he did that. Your mind extends all of this, but that is happening within a minute of all of this occurring. I remember he calls Erika. Around the same time, I pull out my phone and I call my mom just to say, Mom, there's been a shooting. You're going to see it on the news. I'm okay. Pray for me. I've got to go. And I remember that call. And around the time I put that phone away, and then he immediately calls his dad. He calls Rob McCoy, and he says, Dad, someone shot Charlie. You need to call all of your pastor friends. Charlie was hit. We need everyone to pray right now. And that's what he told him.
Why are you guys...
Okay, so that's just not
right.
Why
are you guys wasting money saying the Chengdu toilet
stupid? I'll never forget.
If you're going to be dumb enough and icky enough to give Candace Owens money, you might as well use it to foment more suspicion or something, dumbasses.
I think the normal physiological
Y'all
response
think you're
in
so
these
funny.
Situations
be
for
smart.
Most people is you lock in. They're literally your body when it goes through something.
I already felt gross giving her $10 for that.
It's terrified and it's going through you are really paying attention to details. We've learned about this many times over in health class growing up. This is why they talk about that fight or flight response, and quite literally there's stuff happening to your body. And so there's a lot of details here that are just not accurate. And the one that surprised me the most about these call logs is I certainly feel that we were given the impression over and over and over again that the first person Mikey called was Erika, right? He called Erika. We were told this by many people also, that he trained, like he almost went to a camp and trained, and Charlie was like, 1, 2, 3, go, and fast, 1, 2, 3, go.
Why would it be beneficial for us to spam that she's compromised? Because then she leans further into it.
Well, he didn't do that. Actually, the first person he called was his wife.
That's why. Because if she sees enough people in her chat, if she sees enough people in her chat
on the phone with his wife
scrutinize her position, she has to lean further into attacking Turning Point USA.
Erika, 3 minutes after the shot went off. What
do you think is going on? She's very clearly backing away from bouldering Turning Point USA.
This is Danny McCoy, by the way. Is his brother.
Her tail is so tucked is right. She's showing her belly here.
Charlie Kirk shot goes off. I have that in detail.
I think Will Sommers' assessment is wrong.
Calls his wife.
I think there is.
They will stay on the phone for 10 minutes.
I can totally see a conversation that took place between Turning Point USA and Candace Owens where they said, you can keep farming. Just don't go too hard. Just don't touch the money. Okay? That's what I think is going on here, where she's like within the confines of reason allowed to criticize
the phone call
Turning Point USA or invite suspicion to the official narratives.
Okay, so that
without
when he was
attacking Turning Point USA's
his
bag.
lips quivering, and he's like, I got to call Erika. And he's like, and then I called my mom. That's not right. That's just not right. Okay, Mikey called Erika after Blake Neff ended that phone call with his mother. If call logs are to be believed above, human testimony. Mikey McCoy then drops Erika from the phone call 2 minutes later, and then he adds his father to the phone call. Again, he is this entire time on the phone with his wife, okay? And then Mikey McCoy ends his phone call with his father. He does call another person who I'm not mentioning because it's just not relevant to anything, not a character in this story, rather. And then he ends the phone call with his wife. And a minute later, his brother calls him back and they stay on the phone for 10 minutes. I did not get this from everybody speaking about this Mikey McCoy call log. I know that you guys did not get this. I did not get this. I don't know why she was disappeared from this. Like, you could go, look, the wife wants privacy. No, she was like, main stage at the memorial, has been, I would say very involved in a lot of this kind of, I think it's very close that she's close with Erika. They went on the vacation together. So I don't get this disappearing act. I found that to be like, okay, but they were forthcoming with it. That feels good. That feels good, guys.
Oh,
like,
it feels
wow,
good.
we don't have to guess.
Well,
now we
why
have
are
solid
you not
answers.
being forthcoming?
And like I said, when you come out and give solid answers and you're not weird and calling people names and saying all this stuff,
I don't think people are going to like that she's in
okay,
any way, shape, or form agreement with Turning Point USA.
I feel a bit more like we can trust this process because we have communication. That's the reality. And so
this is her own doing, by the way, because she
also,
actively shit on Erika Kirk and primed her audience into also hating Erika Kirk,
and I think surprised
and
me
tying Erika Kirk into the conspiracy a little bit.
Retreat.
Now, when she does full flip on Erika and comes across like she's in agreement with Erika, they're going to be like, "What are you doing?" Last week you told us she ain't shit.
We're told,
and especially because Erika Kirk is like a patently unlikable person.
It was in a hypothetical
who did the whole Barry Weiss town hall.
But he got fired up in the hypothetical.
Right after everybody saw Erika Kirk on camera and we're like, what's wrong with her? She goes on and has this private correspondence behind closed doors and is now talking about how she's in agreement with Erika Kirk. Okay.
Like, hung out to dry for telling people the truth. Especially when I wasn't going, oh, well, Seth Dillon killed Charlie Kirk. I just, this happened. It factually happened. And yet everybody's kind of putting out these weird statements and they're not being honest in them. And I was saying to them, that made me feel really weird. And I would love to know more about this Bibi Netanyahu offer to fund Turning Point to the next level. At which point Erika said she was not aware of that happening. It is obviously totally possible that that was kept in the business lane of Turning Point USA. But I'm certain, I said, I am absolutely certain that I did not get this from an obscure source that Bibi offered to fund Turning Point to the next level. And it was part of my frustration with that sit down.
And they said, no, that's
Alex
not the
Clark,
case. And I believe them.
Andrew said, oh, there was not $150 million. That's made up. I told them, Andrew Colvett was my source. Andrew Colvett told me verbatim that Bibi Netanyahu offered to take Turning Point to the next level and that Charlie turned that money down. So I said there's a bit of a predicament when I'm being lambasted by all of these voices and people that are attacking me and these paid campaigns. And when I say paid, yes, okay, actually have the names of people. Different ways they're being paid. Some are being paid by PR firms. Too many are being paid by Prager University, which is upsetting to me because I know Marissa and it's just dirty. But it's especially crazy when people are calling it a conspiracy when I share things that are told to me from the spokesperson of Turning Point USA. Okay, that's weird. And yes, they were forthcoming. Nobody's ever denied this, so this was not on our list of lies about the fact that Bibi Netanyahu did call him. Okay, that did happen. Bibi shared that, by the way. Our source for that could have just as well been Bibi Netanyahu. And not a lot of clarity on
Eyvallah.
I don't know why some people think he didn't make this offer, and why definitively 3 different sources who would have knowledge of this confirmed to me that Bibi Netanyahu did indeed make this offer. I never said $150 million ever, not once on the show. I wouldn't have even said that, by the way. If you said take Turning Point to the next level, I actually would have assumed it was
donated to Candace,
more,
birds of a feather, am I right?
That's a hefty
Yeah, we're
offer,
both
and it leads to a lot
sellouts
of
to
questions.
Israel.
So
I'm a sellout to Israel
there
by
was
way of the
not a lot
Democratic
of
Party. She's
clarity
a
there.
sellout to Israel by way of Turning
Lastly,
Point
I want to
USA.
add, of course, I was locked in this meeting when people on live were another round of debunking the Egyptian planes. I want to be very clear. We discussed the Egyptian planes.
Anti-Semitic. Oh, yeah,
and
that too.
I have since worked on an incredible document about the Egyptian planes, which we are going to put up on our website, because I realized that when we shared that spreadsheet, people assumed that one of the columns, which was actually saying where the planes landed on that day, because it was plus or minus 3 days, was exactly where Erika had been on that day, and that was inaccurate. And so for clarity, I had been working on the last week on turning it into an interactive timeline that we can put up on our website, because I'm certain that these Egyptian planes are incredibly shady, and that they were in fact tracking Turning Point USA, Faith, broader events. Of course, Erika was at some of them, Charlie was at some of them.
What did Erika say
to
to
that?
that?
The pattern here is undeniable. So let the naysayers and people make videos trying to, 5th round debunk these planes. I also want to say to you that I feel very confident that I know why these planes have caused such panic. And it is because there is overwhelming evidence that these planes regularly fly in and out of Israel. And I'm going to present that evidence tomorrow. I say that strongly. This is I feel very confident saying these Egyptian planes are flying in and out. And notice I'm saying planes because once I was able to connect people that were on those planes onto other Egyptian planes, I was able to realize that these planes are flying in and out of Israel and turning their transponder off each time that they do it.
No shit.
That
It's
is
an Egyptian plane.
now makes
Okay,
perfect
whatever.
sense of why there was this mass
What did
panic.
they say, though?
Right? It's not exactly like we have a strong
What did Turning
Egyptian
Point
lobby
USA say to that,
in the United
though?
States. Not like we're like, whoa, well, those darn Egyptians again are trying to get TikTok censored. I mean, every person in the game, Barry, acting. Well, these are the usual suspects that act if something is a threat to Israel, okay? Which is, they should have just been forthcoming, pretended that it was changing apart. Instead, they're trying to gaslight us, and they're actually, frankly, just pissing me off. So I became locked in on these Egyptian planes because that's how I am, okay? You keep pushing me and keep pushing me, I will become an expert on these planes. I'll learn how to build an Egyptian plane. And the reality is, like I said, tomorrow I will show you how these planes tie back to Israel.
She's just promoting
there's
her
no,
next.
There's
She's
no
just
disproving this.
promoting the
So,
next day's content,
more
dude.
on that later. We'll be right back after throwing into some of our sponsors.
Oh my
All right, you guys,
God. Boo. Boo. I don't want to hear about no preborn. I want to hear about Erika Kirk. Does she have a preborn? I want to know what Erika Kirk said. She gave us nothing. This was literally what? How long was this? This was 36 minutes of nothing. She came in hot. She said she was going to reveal the details of this private correspondence. Already shady that it was private. Okay? And now after priming everybody into this notion that you are the truth teller, you are find out the truth, that you're gonna actually take it to the boss man. The boss man did the boss call, and all of a sudden you're like, well, you know, there was a lot of room for agreement. You're just mad she didn't read your chat? No. I'm mad because I wanted answers, okay? As a clandestine operator, I'm mad because I didn't get answers at all. Now, what I was looking for, if we're going to be serious for a second, what I was looking for here is like, is she going to continue leaning into the bag, leaning into the grift, or is she going to come to a conciliatory solution that kind of lays the suspicion off of Erika Kirk and specifically Turning Point USA a little bit? And I personally think this is the most conciliatory tone she could have taken with Turning Point USA and Erika Kirk without literally having her entire audience call her an op for Israel, right? I suspect this was the conversation that took place. I think she was like, listen, I'm obviously not going to, I'm not going to call off everything. I can't call off everything. My audience will yell at me if I do that. That'll invite too much suspicion. But we packed this up with like a Candace Owens appearance 6 months down the line, and I will manage this discourse to the best of my ability. I'll still continue asking certain questions, but I won't do anything that actually compromises the investigation. I won't do anything that actually compromises Turning Point USA's funding structure. And then it'll be a big grand finale when 6 months down the line, I'll do a Turning Point USA announcement. Like I'll do a Turning Point USA conference or something, and everyone will come and we'll join hands and we'll all grift together. If she was a real grifter, on the other hand, or rather she was more even, if she was invested in like continuously farming, she would have come out of this meeting being like, I didn't believe a single damn thing they told me. Why would I believe it? They're compromised by Israel, blah, blah, blah.
Live update that I thought it was Danny McCoy on the call log. I should totally correct that, and I will correct that, and we'll be sure to trim it in post here. But it is not Danny McCoy. It is Danny, another one of Charlie's assistants. So I will correct that. Please correct that if you're going to make videos. Not Danny McCoy that called him and then called him after. That is another assistant of Charlie's. So we want to be accurate. I don't know why I assumed it was Danny McCoy in my head. I may have done that. Okay, another thing. You guys may have been noticing that we are getting into this weird space where they seem to be almost writing like Candace Owens fan fiction. I can't even reply to things, and a lot of you sense that this was because we were getting close. I agree. I fully agree that these attacks, which have grown hysterical, like I can't even begin to tell you the conversations between me and my PR person. I'm like, there's nothing to respond to. I mean, there's not even one sentence of this that is true. Case in point, by the way, New York Post does this article today. We were actually laughing, okay? Like, inside Candace Owens' sadistic and dangerous world, monetizing baseless conspiracies. This is after, by the way, they changed my husband's Wikipedia and said that he was a Qatari, like he had a Qatari passport or citizenship. I don't think my husband's ever even flown over Qatar. I could be wrong, but I don't think I know he's never been to Qatar. I don't think he's ever flown over Qatar. And they're just making it up, and then they make it trend no matter what it is. And I'm like, this is happening. It's like a psychological operation because they're trying to keep us constantly responding as opposed to focusing on our investigation, which is why I spent this weekend and I just kept down on the Egyptian plains because it's completely crazy. And when you see a media storm like this, it can only be happening because Zionists are locking arms and going attack because they by and large control the media. They just do. Okay, one way or the other, Zionists control the empire medias, and they are scared about something in this investigation. We've noticed that from the very beginning. So they wrote in this article, the New York Post, just to give you an example of how insane this is, they said they had an inside source that told them that while I was at the Daily Wire, I just fought with people from the very source that in my first week, I threw my car keys at a producer and expected them to park my car. That sentence genuinely made me laugh so hard because I never once in the entire time that I worked for the Daily Wire did I ever drive
so
my
many
car
of our followers
to work.
further towards Fuentes.
They had a driver that took me
I think there's
there.
like a real.
So I don't know why I was.
There's a back and forth here between her and Fuentes,
throw it at somebody,
where Nick
quite
Fuentes actually
literally,
hates
I never
Candace
go to
Owens
the Daily Wire,
because
so
he
just
realized
fan
that
fiction.
she's
Like,
doing
fan
his
fiction.
grift a little bit
Secondly,
better
they
than
say that to
him.
a producer,
Where
and
if
that
the
I
audience is
conducted
primed to
the
hear
demand
like
others do my
Jews
research.
are responsible
Could
for
not be further from the
everything,
truth. I have
then they
done
gravitate
shows
towards
that
Candace
I
Owens because
can't-
Nick
I
Fuentes
can't
sometimes
read
has
the
to be like
script.
more rational in his
My shows,
anti-Semitism
I think that's pretty
and more
obvious
intellectual in his
that I
anti-Semitism.
demanded
Whereas
a
Candace Owens has
huge
no,
studio,
interest in that, or even has the
attempted
capability
to
of doing
use
that.
their PR
And we've
firm
watched on this
to
broadcast
get
Nick
the
Fuentes like
cover of
yell at his own
People
audience
magazine,
for
like,
falling
full fan fiction. There's not
into the
even a
Candace Owens
shred- I
grift.
don't even think we ever had a conversation about People magazine because that would not be a normal.
But then
outlet
again,
for
because
any
there's an
conservatives
interesting
that
division
want to
here
be on the
because Nick
cover of
Fuentes is
People
saying
is
that Israel
insane,
didn't kill Charlie Kirk, and people are
they
stupid
said
for
that their
saying that.
sources
And his
also
audience thinks
said that,
because
like,
they're
my
primed
team
first and
needed
foremost
me.
by
My team came with me when I got hired.
by
My whole team's here,
maximum
so I was
anti-Semitism,
just
they're like,
going,
oh,
okay,
are compromised?
here?
Are you
Why are
a
we
goy
talking about
slave
Qatar?
now, as opposed
Why
to
are they making these things up?
Candace
And I
Owens,
come
who
to
is
this
blaming
conclusion,
Israel?
it is because we are dangerously close to something. I think we have to keep pushing on the Huachuca Air Base, which we are doing. And tomorrow we are going to get back into the investigation. We're just going to ignore the noise because, as I have said and as I have maintained, I believe that Charlie was betrayed by people that are close to him. And I asked that question in the meeting. I'm like, okay, if we can agree that everyone around, I was like, I know there are people at Turning Point, they're not good people, right? And it's feasible that people, if they have addictions, that they, you can definitively get yourself in a scenario
Why
where
is she
you
not
are willing
reading
to sell
chat?
somebody
It's
out.
100% pre-recorded.
It's a massive organization.
True.
How can we so confidently
Yeah,
state
go
that
ahead, girl.
nobody
Give
had
us
anything to do
nothing
here?
is exactly my
to do
takeaway from
with,
this, by the way.
anything here. And I think that one of the things that Erika was like, well, I'm not like a feminist, and I didn't want the vibe of that, which I think it did come across like a bit of a
she's
feminist.
Actively
to say, like,
moving
this is all my family. I'm
the
like, how could this all be your family?
she's
I know
literally
people in this family, and they're not good
she
people.
knows she has more people in
I wouldn't
here
even do that
because
with my
they're
own
all
family, okay?
confused
I
or
got
all
people
interested
my
in what
family,
took
like, we all
place.
do,
And she's, instead of telling you
who aren't
answers,
exactly
telling us
walking
answers,
a straight
she's
arrow
basically
in
using
life.
this as an opportunity
And,
to promote her
so
next show.
I've communicated that. I have not changed my position on that.
That's precisely the reason why the first 30 minutes is like the meat of it, usually, now that I've watched a couple of these.
I don't feel good about.
And then the rest of the 30 minutes is just add, couple super chats.
And making things up. Tim Pool
add promotion of next show, add super chat, add.
I have the same
super chat, couple attacks against their enemies like Tim Pool.
As Charlie Kirk, and that I'm a fraud, and that actually I have the exact same security. You will recall that Tim just said a week ago that I have no security. Okay, this is Tim Pool a week ago.
See, first you talked about how you made us.
She is burning everything down.
First, you talked about how you made some misrepresentations about Turning Point USA, and now we're going to talk about how people talk about you. Oh my God, this is about Charlie's murder. Hello, that's
yeah, the one fat guy you mentioned with no
like
wall and no
people don't like Tim Pool because they see him as like a a servant of Israel in this community. So this will harden the base a little bit. This will distract them enough with some red meat.
Wall and one fat guy, and she doesn't give a about our security.
So that was like Tim last Monday. This is Tim who said I had no security except for one fat guy, which I told you was not true. Now he's saying this.
I kid you not, Mayor Eric Adams is on my flight to Turkey.
Oh
my God, that's amazing.
But I'm going to say,
my
I
God.
always get super heated on this. Candace Owens has the same security team as Turning Point and Charlie Kirk did. She's lying. She has the same security people. I've been digging into this. I've been meeting with people and talking with them. And I shouldn't say too much because there's more that's going to be coming out soon. Because rest assured, people are filing legal paperwork against her.
320 viewers, though, you sound like a salty 33K Andy. No, I'm a clandestine operator. I want her to fight for the truth.
So when she comes out and is questioning them,
when Candace wins, we all win.
Right. Now,
where we go all, we go Candace.
We'll see what happens. We'll see when they can. The issue is, the moment Candace goes on her show to millions of people and lies, litigation begins. And what happens when litigation begins? People don't do interviews about it. She is exploiting this, and she knows she is, to keep people wrapped up in this insanity.
This is what your haters do to you, lol. Yeah, except
Tim versus
I'm
Tim,
ideologically
undefeated,
opposed to every single person involved here. My haters behave as though they are literally on the side of at least like the anti-Trump initiative. That's the difference. The people that do this to me more often than not aren't like Asmongold or whatever. The people that do this to me more often than not are like Destiny, who claims he's a liberal, who claims he's a Democrat, or Ethan Klein, who claims he's invested in fighting anti-Semitism. I am very much ideologically opposed to Candace Owens. I'm very much ideologically opposed to Tim Pool. I've spent an entire career yelling about these guys' horrible positions.
Security, which was run by Greg Schaefer, who has issued a public statement. They had Dan Flood and Brian Harpool working for them initially. I told Charlie I did not like the security apparatus. I got my own
of intellectual commentary. Your passive aggressive, condescending, racist comments sort of piss me off.
It just is a fact. There's no way to undo that fact.
What?
Trying to do this strategy.
No, I said Nick Fuentes tries to do an intellectual version of the anti-Semitism by his own definition.
You can't just file legal.
And Candace Owens has no interest in that.
Something you said on your show was untrue.
Which is precisely the reason why she's infinitely more popular than Nick Fuentes.
As I did with Brigitte,
because
I told the truth.
in the right wing reactionary sphere, intellectual sentiment is not actually one that people are desiring. They want easy to understand narratives. If someone is going for Jews are responsible for everything style narratives, they stay with Nick Fuentes.
Brian Harbaugh
They'll go to the next
message he showed
person.
belonged to Dan Flood. It
That
did.
isn't giving them that.
And
That
they
is
didn't do
just
a walkthrough on that
straightforwardly.
day.
God
They
damn it, dude. Well, this has got to be bait, right? Free Palestine now.
That actually you did. Send it.
Yeah, there's a difference between
getting the
nerd
truth,
racism
and we're not
versus
getting it.
jock racism, I guess.
Certainly
And
not
Candace
expected
Owens
to get it
offers jock
from Tim
racism.
Pool. That is crazy. That's just crazy town. But I do think that is right now the Zionist strategy, and that's why I want to encourage you guys to stay focused.
That's the
Watch
same
Chuka,
version
which
of
we're
this
gonna have a
already
lot
took
on
place.
tomorrow.
Good thing you didn't see the Automont comment that was blogged. The same version of this that already took place with Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate actually captivated all of the men's right activist podcasters.
And again,
they actually basically destroyed Ben Shapiro and the other version of like previously intellectual forms of white supremacy. Because people realize they just want like that are that aren't nerdy and boring and annoying with their explanations for why systemic racism doesn't exist. They wanted someone to be like, black people are inferior or whatever Tate says all the time.
Conversation on their show yesterday, on the Charlie Kirk show, about this trial, the upcoming trial about Tyler Robinson, and here is what they had to say. Take a listen.
So this is straight from the charging document. It says Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a, quote, stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate. And when you see how easy that rooftop access is, you start to kind of put one and one together, and you realize that Robinson had a plan that he was going to ultimately take advantage of. And he obviously knew how easy it was to get up to that rooftop, which is terrifying.
It really is. And look, one of the other things that's being pushed around for a long time was that, TPUSA, both the local chapter and you guys, didn't advertise this event till a couple days prior to. Now, the insinuation there is that doesn't give Tyler enough time to plan for this. And what we found out with a little bit of, 20, not even 5 minutes of Googling and looking. Yeah. Look, you guys had already put out on your website as early as August 27th. So we have at least almost a full 2 weeks prior to this, that not only the time of the event, but the location, the exact location.
Why is she going through old clips of Turning Point USA? We want to know what your conversation with Turning Point USA looked like. You have revealed zero. You've given us nothing about what Turning Point USA said back to you, what their demands were.
Exactly being proposed by the state of Utah and the FBI.
She's duping us all. She's farming us all.
And we can attest, Andrew Cipher, who's our head of field, Charlie sometimes throw the events out, 7-10 days in advance. If something opened up in his schedule, he would be able to do these outdoor events, a pretty quick turn. And so those whole, that whole theory kind of goes out the window.
So unless I am mistaken, and I am not perfect, but I do feel like we worked really hard to see when this location was first revealed. The first time that we found that the courtyard was mentioned, because Charlie's speaking at events, your assumption would be they're inside, right? You have no idea where it is. So it's not like you can see whether you have a shot to the courtyard unless you know Charlie's speaking in the courtyard. The earliest that we found that was on September 2nd. The local media mentioned on KMYU that Charlie was speaking at UVU in the courtyard. Okay, that's the first time that we found this. If I am wrong, please tag me, because what he's referring to on August 27th that happened, which we have on our timeline as well, and this is why I love a timeline, is that TPUSA, UVU, and the local BYU chapter shared a graphic announcing that Charlie was coming to UVU, but there were absolutely no location details mentioned. So that actually does shred the idea that he could have practically gone and scaled rooftops before September 2nd. That's the first public mention, is September 2nd. So they announced the event on August 27th, as he says, no location details. And then on September 2nd, there are location details provided by local media for the first time. Prove me wrong. Okay. Prove me wrong if I'm inaccurate, because I do think that we were thorough on that. I will update my timeline. If not, it does then beg the question, surely they must have footage after September 2nd of him testing the rooftop in some capacity to then realize, oh, it's going to be an outdoor event. This is an opportunity for me to go after him. We are waiting for that. And like I said, I was told that they don't have anything that the public doesn't have. So it's not obvious to me. I don't think it's obvious to the public. Now, I do want to get to Viva Frey, who had this to say regarding drones. Regarding the text messages from Tyler Robinson.
A lot has been made about these text exchange that went back and forth between Robinson and his lover, his trans furry gay lover, whatever. And people say it doesn't sound right. Well, there is a video that I want everybody to check out by Turkey Tom. I believe you've watched it now, Viva, where, and this has been authenticated as somebody who was in the Discord chats with them and apparently spent time with them at this apartment. And he said 100% this is how they talked, which is a striking finding. We're going to go into that more probably tomorrow or the next day, depending on how today goes. But I mean, I get the skepticism on this. At first, it struck me too, but apparently this is how they talk, Viva.
That was not the most implausible thing to believe. Okay, so you have a text message. It does read, regardless of whether or not this is how they talk. People saying they were manufactured by or drafted by AI.
Fed him
to the
a
extent
lot.
that they're confirmed text messages, you can, come to whatever conclusions you want.
Turkey
after
Tom,
that.
more like
But
Turkey Tom, more like Kirky Tom. Am I right?
the extent that those were authentic text messages, they show what they show, which is whether or not his lover was aware of what was going on. You're etching bullets, and it's maybe not for target practice of a sporting nature. But like when I say I don't believe the official narrative, and you have to go back to a number of things here. I put my sort of best theory as to what went down. I want to know who was on the Discord chat in advance, what they were discussing, and whether or not there might have been some other I say foreign, not foreign government, but outer influence there. Tyler Robinson is getting radicalized right about the same time as Thomas Crooks, right about the same time as the other guy, Ryan Ruth. He's being radicalized at a politically relevant period of time, right around the same time, oddly enough, as the alleged suspect in the January 6th pipe bomber. A time frame where political violence is potentially very useful for the upcoming election. So the time frame of the radicalization is very interesting. To see whether or not he was on anybody's radar beforehand, we don't yet know that, and why there would not be confirmation on that can lead to suspicion. You remember the old man, George Zinn, arrested for claiming to be the shooter the day of, and then gets busted for CP on his phone. Like, in my mind, if I'm making a plausible theory here, George Zinn was probably on some Discord chat with a bunch of young perverts, and he's an old pervert, and he's getting off doing whatever they do on those chats. He knows what's going down. He shows up
why
there
are we
and thinks
going
he's gonna
through
be some
old
useful
Turning Point USA
decoy or
videos?
distraction for Tyler Robinson, because they know
Why
what's
is she
going
not
down.
addressing
That's my
anything
theory.
that Turning Point USA said to Candace herself?
It is the absence of total disclosure, the total lack of faith that anybody has, not just in the FBI per se, but in any state law enforcement. Nobody has
filler,
any
dude.
faith in our institutions anymore, and it leads
It's
people
almost
to go
an
from
hour, Candace.
Healthy
Are you gonna
skepticism
wrap
to
this
just
up?
not believing it, to concocting the most outlandish conspiracy theories imaginable. But then those text messages, you can understand how they will cause people to come to those types of conclusions. And allegedly, the rumors are.
I don't know. Maybe her audience is like
Joe Kent for trying to look
dumb
into
enough to
potential
demand
terrorist
conspiracy
angles.
theories, but
Also
not.
does nothing
But
to,
also so dumb that they
foment
don't even invite any
faith in the
scrutiny to
system.
Candace Owens after she turns around and gives
What
them
he's saying there is
nothing.
perfectly valid, and we can all surmise
know?
that what we think happened that day. We can also ignore the fact that I broke the story that the nurses were told at Utah Valley, which treated George Zinn. Everyone's just ignoring the things that I broke. She has no evidence, but he told the nurses that he was paid to do that. So whatever, we can all theorize, which we're going to do in the absence of any concrete facts. But I will say it's good that Turning Point is at least giving that air, right? I feel before, I think that might even be the first time Andrew Colvett has expressed that he thought that those messages were weird initially. That's good. That's what people want. They want fresh air at Turning Point USA. They want different perspectives. They want to feel like you're willing to have a conversation, and that at least you're going to defend people when they're being called liars when they're telling the truth about something. That would feel more authentic, I think. And so I am, just to say this, very happy that we are on much better feet and that we have opened the lines of communication. I do genuinely think that Justin Strife did a great job reffing that conversation yesterday. And I also do want to shout out Megyn Kelly, because this was going, we were trying to make this happen in the background, really since Blake Neff fumbled the first invite. And thank you. That's in large part because of you guys at home that were like,
There's
what the
nothing
F was
authentic
that?
about
And I
Candace
think
Owens.
that they
I
got
know,
enough
but
flack that they were like, okay, we got to fix this.
She was able to.
But I want
She was able to present authenticity on Israel. Remember, and specifically also not Israel, but also tying it all back to Jews as a Jewish conspiracy. These are the types of things that the audiences actually find to be authentic and uncompromising. Another way that she was able to beef up her authenticity was by daggering Turning Point USA, saying Turning Point USA was farming Charlie Kirk's image, and that she was like a true friend to Charlie. Now that she had a private closed-door meeting with Turning Point USA, her message has changed a little bit, where she's like going back to some of the things, but she's not giving us anything about like what Turning Point USA said. I don't think that people will consider her to be like super authentic.
And with time, we'll see whether or not I was right. I think that's really what it comes down to. But all around, definitely a productive conversation. I know it's 4 hours, so more things will come to my mind as they become relevant. But I think that's a good pause for right now. We'll throw to some of our sponsors. All right, you guys. So for
more. Oh my God. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. More sponsors. More sponsors. More sponsors. Nothing. Go ahead, girl. Give us nothing. No new revelations about like Turning Point USA beyond her backing down from this conversation. No revelations whatsoever. This is disappointing, to say the least. It's disappointing as far as like there was only two routes out of this, right? Obviously, either she was going to take a conciliatory tone towards Turning Point USA and back away from it a little bit, but not enough to like invite too much scrutiny and suspicion, but so much so that she doesn't like further push this anti-Turning Point USA narrative. Or she was going to really dagger Erika Kirk. And the audience was waiting for her to base on Erika Kirk and invite further narratives about, her personal involvement or something, right? Because that's how she framed it leading up to this conversation. Now she's basically moving in the direction of long-term collaboration. Trust me. Unless in the next couple of days, the feedback that she gets and the backlash that she receives from her own audience actually change her mind on how she must move forward. But at which point she will probably get hit by Erika Kirk, because I'm sure they were smart enough to film that interview, whereas she wasn't smart enough, clearly, to film the interview at all. They are probably, like, the way I'm seeing this is, if she goes back on her word in that meeting, here's what you said to us. You know what I mean? Like, Turning Point will cook her. So now she's trapped in this bind. She should have done this interview in public, I think, and it should have been a debate. But here she is farming laxatives to 300,000 people. Now, remember, all of the stuff that people overlook, like running of the ads and stuff like that, when they thought she was a champion of truth and justice, will now look real in comparison. From the outside, we were watching her talk about how devastated she was about Charlie's demise and then farm this kind of ad sponsorship, whatever scheme. People would obviously respond differently.
Why we're doing it. It does keep us free. And we're all sensing the squeeze. It's like they just want our speech. They want to purchase rational thinking. We can't allow that to happen.
Let's see if she reads my comment.
From
Probably
this episode,
not.
Curbster writes, I am praying that our girl is playing the ultimate long game while staying true to her convictions and true toward all of us who have backed her and Charlie from the beginning. I am praying that God keeps you strong, righteous, and faithful in every step that you take. May God save America and protect us all. I want to say this to you guys just plainly. If I was going to sell out, it would have happened in the last 2 years, okay? Those offers were made. Those threats were made. I hope you have seen what I have gone through to keep myself, really. I was fighting to stay me, and it was hard. And that it made me really appreciate the fact that we do live in a matrix and every element is controlled. And that is why they are vicious right now.
I wonder if she'll read like one.
Because Now
curious
that I
comment
chose
about
freedom,
like
they hate that I have freedom. They hate that
one
there's no
one
more
fallen
threats to
fan
me,
comment at all.
right?
Probably
So they're
not.
just embarking on this fan fiction campaign, but especially for the people that I care about in life, right? Especially for people whose heads I have held
They
up.
agree to
who have
answer your
held up
questions
my
just to
head
gather all
through
intel against
really
those who made them
hard
look
times like
suspicious, and
Charlie
the next time
did,
they do something
that I would
heinous, they'll
just
keep in
sell
mind
out
all the
to, like,
info you shared
highest
in
bidder
question.
and go, okay, well, you know
So that
what?
they execute their
Beanie
actions
offered me a lot of
flawlessly.
money, so I'm
Look,
going to
that's
stop talking
cope.
about this, and I'm no longer going to explore this angle, or I'm going to, to repeat to you guys that it was definitely Tyler Robinson. It's just not in my character. I have always been the kind of person that knows that it's not worth living life that way. My whole spirit would be corrupted. I couldn't do it. I struggle with people that can do it. I struggle seeing people who have so obviously sold their souls on the internet. It's very frustrating to watch it. Central 848 writes, Candace, please look into the possibility that Charlie was electrocuted and that the hole in his neck was made by the currents passing through his necklace and out of his throat. The images of his charred hands are conclusive and compelling.
What?
Please, for the love of God, look into this. I did watch that video that Baron Coleman put together.
What are
First and foremost,
these
I want to
guys
say
cooking
Baron Coleman
up,
has done some
bro?
incredible work, and I actually told him that we should get together and collaborate because I had watched a video of his where he was building on Camp Huachuca, and he made me notice some things. So then we started researching some other elements, and that's what we're going to move on to tomorrow. I can tell you definitively that's a weird camera angle. They do look charred in the photos that he showed, but I can tell you that his hands were not charred when he was buried. And so what you thought that, like, people were like, oh, this was like makeup and stuff. It was a very compelling theory. It just wasn't so. And I very much trust the person that told me that. But that said, the Baron Coleman, if you have not seen the episode where he builds on what I said about Camp Huachuca, that is worth a watch. He kind of suggests in that episode, which I want to shut down, he suggests that, I think he heavily suggests that it could have been the Veep on the base, Vance on the base. And I did then research because I was like, oh, wow, is he right? There's actually video of Vance. So it could not have been Vance on the base. Again, I'm getting ahead of ourselves here. We should talk about more of that tomorrow. But that is a very compelling video that he did, which was fantastic work. And I do want to collaborate with him. Maybe we'll do it this week or next week. Or is next week Christmas? I guess. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Jenna writes, your true fans had no doubts about you whatsoever. Merry Christmas to you. I was like, are you new here? Girl, I have been maimed, fired, caricature. I'm watching right now. My family go through that right now because they are so desperate. And I just think we're close to an awakening and really understanding what real evil is. So we're going to keep pushing. Zachary Loft writes, longtime listener, first-time donor. Why wasn't the combo live? Why is Brandon Tatum the only creator that you follow on both IGs? That was 2 questions. Okay, the first thing, why wasn't the combo live? It was first intended to be live. They did say, obviously, you saw the offer Blake Neff made, which was not a true offer. But then what came behind that was Erika communicating with Megyn Kelly and me. Megyn Kelly was kind of the intermediary. We were trying to find someone that was fair, like I said earlier. And then obviously it sort of felt like it got a bit uglier the next week. And I sort of felt, and I think it was fair, that then she went on this press tour and it was kind of directed at me. So then they said, okay, well, by that I mean Justin Strife kind of said, the temperature's a little hot right now. What about we do like not an off record conversation, but have a private
You're
conversation.
indicating, holy shit, she's mocking you?
And I actually
She's
will
not.
say,
we're a part of the
I
clandestine
wish it was
operators.
live, but I will also say I am glad that some parts weren't, because I was then able to tell them some things that I have not yet said that I wanted to like fact check and get some answers on, but also to say something to them that I found out that I didn't say because I didn't want to hurt the company in a way, right? So some of this is very relevant to Charlie's research and what happened on 910, and some of it is not.
Boo! I'm
So
telling you,
we got
bro.
to, I guess, have a better, that portion
That's
of the conversation I think
bullshit.
is better
Are the
off
chat-
camera.
is the
But
chat
I was
eating it up?
always open and am still open to live streaming with them whenever. Truly, like whenever. You guys know I'm an open book, so it wasn't my demand that it be private. I was happy to do a live stream.
Don't forget to
But I
dislike
think
and
Justin thought that it would be
unsubscribe.
better if after, just so we could kind of bring the temperature down, which I think was very much accomplished. Temperature was definitely brought down. Zachary Loft wrote, longtime listener for, oh, sorry, I just read that. Mr. Bruce Lee writes, people in the chat, many other channels are not hearing what they want to hear, so it's automatically, well, Candace got paid. The chats are so botted. It's better to actually look at comments after the episode to see what people think. And we've had so many people talk about how there are so many bots in the chat, and so focus on obviously the words that I am saying, and obviously you can tell that I have not been paid because I wouldn't be talking about Israel. And I think there's
true,
something to
true.
explore there.
I'm telling you,
We'll get into that
dude.
tomorrow.
This
One
is
Will Wallace
they
writes pretty clearly that
recognize
Kirk was
they
murdered because of
recognize
his
that
voice
just
and
simply
influence.
saying
Here's some
Israel is
support
enough
toward
for these
that
people.
security detail. Thank you
Okay?
very much. It's obvious that these people
It's
will
because
stop at
people are
nothing to
so
silence someone.
desperate for any voice that will criticize Israel that like people like Candace Owens basically got people like Candace Owens basically realized like that's like a cheat code. Okay? And even beyond, if you say like, oh, it's the Jews, or if you lean into the Jews, the Jewish angle, like so many people instantly go, oh my God, you're real, you're honest, you're a real one.
Attacker. Like he's basically trying to signal to people that her security's weak, or like she's using the same security as Charlie, all of these things. Like he is trying to put
Not
into
a
the
bot,
air
just have
that
eyes.
he wants me to be attacked. That's how I'm taking this, because why is he making my security a theme on his show? I don't trust that at all. And I don't know what's guiding that. Rio Bays writes, how would Erika and the feds not see those messages? That makes zero sense.
If I'm Candace Owens is a
messages
security
that Charlie
guard,
left in
I'm
the
going on Ozempic, by the way.
Yeah, she didn't.
I
he
have
didn't
been
discuss
so
whether the feds had
prominently
received those
called a
messages.
fat
We
a
did not
million
discuss that.
times, both on Tim
But
Pool's
we did
show
discuss-
to a much
she
smaller
obviously said
audience
that
and on
she did
Candace
not
Owens'
receive those
show to a
messages.
major audience.
And
I'd be
so-
so
How would
insecure.
Erika and the feds not see those messages? That makes zero sense. Erika, Brian Harpole, and so many others caught in these lies. This is what you fished for. Why go soft? That doesn't make sense. Also heard that we're chilling with TPUSA members at Tucker's party. That's another more fan fiction. I have no idea what that was about. You're referring to a person who went and said that Candace was hanging out with TPUSA and Tucker and Marjorie Taylor Greene at Tucker's Christmas party. To my knowledge, I did not see any Turning Point USA employees. I did not have a conversation with any Turning Point USA employees. To my knowledge, that I did not see them. It was a massive party. I have never had beef with Tucker. That's why I was at his Christmas party. And I've never had beef with Marjorie Taylor Greene. So yeah, I spoke to them. That's what I mean. It's like the attacks are just every second of every day accusing me of something. And the implication there was like I was like sitting on the side laughing and enjoying a beer with Terrell Farnsworth and Tyler Boyer. I am sure, because Tucker obviously has a good relationship with them, that there were some Turning Point USA employees. I didn't speak to them. To my knowledge. I did not speak to them. So I actually responded and I said to the person, why don't you publish who you're talking about? You don't have to, like, everyone's like beating around the bush. Like, I can't say what I know about her security. Say it, because you're lying. Okay. If you say you know something about how I'm actually secretly laughing with Turning Point USA, speak plainly. I have nothing to hide. I am not the person who's playing any games right now. So if you're going to call me
why
out,
are we gliding
go all
over
the
her
way.
schizophrenic bullet
Okay?
necklace
Go Max
theories? Like, what
on
the fuck
calling
was
me out,
that?
because if I'm a fraud,
It's because
the public
we have to move on,
sure
because
as hell
she's
deserves
like
to know it.
she's
And
just
you're not
going
gonna
into
find
so
me
many different
in a situation like that.
insane things
Isabella
that it's hard to
Mazzone
keep
writes,
up with
"Can you
like
elaborate
one
more
and
about
like really
Charlie
dial
and
in
journey
on
to
one
Catholicism?
without
Did Erika
pausing and
confirm
then
that?
talking about it for
I'm
an
going through
hour.
a journey with Catholicism as well, and I think that they should be honest about that. Look, obviously, Erika.
Bro, there's people in her
confirmed it.
audience that
I'm
think
always
Charlie
telling
Kirk
the
is
truth.
alive.
That
Do you
was one of the first things
understand?
I said, I was like, what was that weird?
Like, do
Alex
you know?
Cross thing?
Do you know
I was
how
being attacked for
insane
no
this
reason,
thing
and then
is?
I get these people doubling down on it, and I know that they know that it's true. That
I'm
Charlie's
telling
going
you,
to
dude.
mass.
I'm telling you,
And
there
I can't
are a
speak on
shit ton of
whether
people in
he was
this
close to converting. That's a conversation, like you said, Erika
side of the
can't
internet
speak
that
on
are
and there might be a
normies
time
that
and a
you
place
are
for her to do
working
that.
with, that
I can
are
only
your
speak on the fact
coworkers,
that
that
I
your
wasn't lying.
parents, that
And I was
believe
having
in
those
like a
conversations
whole
with him
bunch
when
of
he was sending
nonsense.
I do think, from what I've been told, that he was planning on signing up and starting that process, but I did not personally have that conversation with him. So that's third party. The right person to speak about that would be Erika. And I do think she should. I think she should, because nobody was nastier to me than the Judeo-Christians, the evangelical crowd, because I told the truth about conversations that I had with Charlie about Catholicism. And none of them corrected the record. None of them said, I'm sorry. None of them said, I know what I was speaking about. They just kind of doubled and tripled down on attacking me, which is a repeat theme. I'm always being attacked for telling the truth, and I just keep telling the truth. So, yeah. What's the
Always
lie?
being attacked
Where's
for
the
telling
lie?
the truth.
Where
It's a
is the
repeat
lie?
theme.
Lastly, Lamp writes, how come Qatar is always used as the go-to punching bag by the media? Why does Qatar never even push back? And Qatar seems to never attack Israel in a war of aggression or any sort of attack. Have they ever even done anything negative toward Israel? Well, Qatar recently came out and said, yeah, we work with Hamas because Israel and the United States asked us to. They asked us to play the intermediary. And now we are being attacked for doing what they asked us to do, which sounds like the most absolute, United States Israel thing ever, is to ask people to help you and then to be like, oh, I'm so horrified by what they're doing. And I tend to believe that. I don't understand the weird Qatar thing. Like I said, I would take Qatari money. I would. They haven't called me. It's deeply upsetting. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong, what I'm getting wrong, what I can do better to make them call me. I would be totally one of those people.
She's not going to read yours. That's the last
Have you
comment.
seen,
No, I know she's not going to read mine. I knew that she was never going to read mine. What are you, crazy?
And I'd be in a commercial for Qatari Airlines. I don't mind somebody making that NAI video and maybe sending that over.
That's
to
my
the Qatari
that's my
embassy
lane.
and seeing if they'll hire
Chill.
me.
I'm the number
open
one
to being paid by Qatar. So I don't get it. I don't know why Jared Kushner and Zionists are allowed to go to Qatar, which happened recently, and do deals with them, but for some reason Candace and Tucker are not. It's just not fair. What do I have to do to be seen by Qatar? I guess it's a question for another day. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
That was crazy. Okay, that was crazy. I don't think. I'm gonna be honest. You need to be the top upvoted comment for this episode. Where do we see that? Where can we upvote my comment? How do we do that? Open presents. Thank you for the 25. Get the subs. I don't think the audience bought it. I think there was a lot of interest from the audience. I think she's basically created. I think she's created this this massive community at this point that has a lot of goodwill for her. They got our boys day one, faking gay. She didn't address the questions regarding Erika Kirk lying about messages. Erika learned nothing from Charlie, like to research and find the truth before speaking. 756,000 views in 1 hour, by the way. I'm going to say, I can't be the only one who feels a slight disappointment in the change in attitude after one private meeting with Erika Kirk, right? We didn't hear about what TPUSA said to her at all. Boom. I can't be the only one who feels a slight disappointment in the change in attitude after one private meeting with Erika Kirk, right? We didn't hear about what TPUSA said to her at all. Can you edit after the fact? This meeting should have been live. Please post on your public YouTube account. That would be so fucking funny. Wait, what do you mean? I already did. This is my public YouTube account. Worse than a Redditor or a YouTube commenter? Gave you a thumbs up, King. I'm going to give this video a thumbs down, honestly. It's like, it was disappointing. This was my first thumbs down Candace Owens YouTube video. It was pre-recorded? No, it wasn't pre-recorded. Also, this has 46,000 likes. Holy moly. The birth on Auntie? Yes, I'm Auntie now. Your comment is already at the top. She's for sure pre-recorded. No, it wasn't pre-recorded. She doesn't do these pre-recorded. Should have what this chat does when they're bored and rage bait into her paying attention to you. Yeah. Did they delete? I can't find your comment anymore. They probably did. I'm sure she has like moderators in real time. No, it's there. Did you two ever interact personally before? We might have. I don't even remember. I don't think so, though. Because she did not have this level of emotion for most of her career. Maybe during your time at the DHS, yes, probably. 2018, Candace Owens is very bad at her job.
The trans community is justified because, oh, there's such a small percentage of the population who cares.
This is an old stream from 2018 when I was streaming on Facebook.
Well, that margin, when looking at it from a statistical analysis perspective, might look like a small number.
When you were a baby? Yeah, when I was a little baby. The mic tech has come a long way. I know. Why don't you have the hot camera angle anymore? What do you mean? This is a far superior camera angle, I think, than that. 5K dislike, 10% thus far. That's not real. The dislike ratio is famously fake. Come on. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, did she delete your comment? I don't see it. Now your comment is gone for me. They might have taken it out. Cowards. Where was it? Let's see. I mean, it still shows up for me, but I'm me. So that's probably the reason why it's showing up for me. Some people are saying, yep, it's out. Some people are saying they still see it. That's it. We paste a hole in our floors and shoot our fingernails off for that. Come on, girl. 4.5 hours and that's all we get. Where's the beef? Still love you, but come on. I feel like I'm being strung along to keep numbers up. You mean that after Charlie died, Angel Cole never once told Erika? Well, that was weird. Has anyone explained how Erika's in possession of Charlie's phone during an ongoing investigation? What about asking why Mickey got on the phone without even dialing a number, then walked away casually before Charlie even hit the ground? Are you seriously going to glaze over that? Have you even considered that perhaps he has two phones? What on earth was that? What did Erika say about being followed by planes? A lie can run on for a while, but the truth owns the finish line because it never has to change direction. I wouldn't trust the call logs from them. How can Candace believe call logs they probably made up? She just simply said, okay, cool, clarified. It's all a psyop. They are all part of the club. Well, I heard nothing there that would change my mind about Erika Kirk. She's a fraud with a very murky past. Both sides of this are now fake and gay. No need to apologize for calling TPUSA a godforsaken organization for alleging that the leadership of TPUSA would betray Charlie Kirk. They are, and they did. I think I just realized that we, the people, will never be allowed to know now. I felt like she was backpedaling. We learned nothing, absolutely nothing. Her husband was assassinated on live TV. FBI somehow is allowed to keep her phone. 4.5 hours of Erika Kirk, and this is all Candace has to say. So anticlimactic. We will never be told the truth about anything ever. What a joke. See? I told you. This is going to be the prevailing narrative where people did not get what they were looking for from this conversation. While Will Sommer says Erika Kirk's meeting with Candace Owens is starting to look like a disaster, Candace Owens is still criticizing specific TPUSA staffers and now says they couldn't convince her Tyler Robinson was a gunman. I don't think that is the... I think that the audience demanded a lot more, wanted a lot more from that conversation, and she took a far more conciliatory tone than they expected. You can't promise a bombshell and deliver a nothing burger. Yeah. Because of her not being as aggressive as the fans wanted her to be, they will see this as an intro into something more serious and less of a joke. No, I'm telling you right now, I think that they are gonna be, bro, there is so much. Keep writing fan fiction about me, New York Post. Oh yeah, she's flexing her view count. But a lot of this stuff is fine when you're an ally. I mean, I've seen this in my own community, right? I've seen this in my own career. People that ride with you and click like on stuff like this, if you don't feed them exactly what they want to hear, or if they have disagreements with you, that will very quickly turn into hatred. Things that people didn't mind in the past about her, talking about her view count, or things that they didn't mind about the ads and things like that, will very quickly turn into points of hate. Okay, this is how stan behavior works. Stans can often turn into the most vicious haters. Okay, I mean, we saw a version of that take place with the 49-month subscriber who thinks I'm a federal agent, unironically, who thinks I'm a Zionist, right? People that initially will people that openly would be like, you played a formative role in my development, will then very quickly turn around and be like, you actually are betraying the socialist cause. You're my number one op now. You're a bigger enemy of mine than any number of different right wingers. So, especially when you're rudderless, like for someone like myself, this is not a problem. The reason why it's not a problem is because I stay the course, right? I have an ideological conviction. I have a positive vision for the future that I want to see, that I want to build. So in spite of all of the negative feedback, I just keep doing what I'm doing. And, the cards fall where they may, right? If some people develop a distaste over the years, it doesn't matter. The message doesn't change. It's consistent because the goals are the same, right? Whereas for people like Candace Owens, who are at the mercy of their audiences, for people who are grifting with no real ideological conviction, with only one singular interest, farming a larger and larger audience to the best of their ability, for people like that, they're at the mercy of their audiences. And what she did here, I think, was to take a more professional decision where she thought it would be better if she took a more conciliatory approach to Turning Point USA and moved the attention away from them, moved the stink off of them, when the Erika Kirk conspiracies are growing in size, in frequency, in magnitude, including but not limited to who Erika Kirk was dating before Charlie Kirk. On the eve of people on Twitter finding out that Erika Kirk was dating the executive producer of the Charlie Kirk show, Cabot Phillips, before she met Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens comes out and says, actually, I think it was much less of a conspiracy than I previously thought it was, to an audience that is demanding more and more. That's really bad business. Okay? Yeah. So all of the things that all of the newfound fame and glory and admiration that she has enjoyed thus far is going to fall by the wayside. All of the people that previously thought that it was great that she is, farming ads and donos because she's like on a pursuit towards justice and truth, are now going to say, "What are you doing? I guess you were a grifter all along." Right? Wouldn't it be easier to go along with her audience, or do you think she wants mainstream appeal? I don't know. I think that was the decision that she made. That was the calculation that she made. She thinks this pivot is smarter for her long-term career ambitions. Okay? She probably gets less hate from mainstream outlets. She probably miscalculated or misjudged how much control she has over her own audience. Maybe I'm actually overemphasizing how much people are invested in leaning into conspiracies. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe her assessment is right, and that this will actually take some of the stink off of her from mainstream outlets, while simultaneously, simultaneously like help her get a leg up later down the line by Turning Point USA, things like that. But I will say, in terms of being market captured, in terms of being audience captured, the full tilt audience capture moment here would be to take that meeting and stay the course. Come out of that meeting and just like dagger Erika Kirk and continue hammering Turning Point USA. Release some juicy tidbits of the back and forth conversation that took place that lean heavily in the direction of Israel paid them conspiracies, things like that. I don't know, though. 350,000 live viewers, even if she holds on to 1/3 of that, she's still 4 times bigger than you. Brother, I'm not making a comparison between myself and a right-wing content creator. Are you nuts? There's never been a moment in the history of independent media where a leftist content creator, not even like a liberal, but a Marxist or a leftist content creator, has ever even come close to the level of popular success that I have seen, you do realize that like there's never been a moment where the left has ever dominated discourse. That's just a lie that right-wingers actually tell themselves to make it seem like they're in a permanent state of victimhood.